Did you see Nancy Pelosi defend insider trading?
Just about to ask.
What'd you say? I don't know, guys. I'm doing great at it. You guys should try
it. A bunch of people were freaking out about it. I think it was Crystal and Sagar were doing. I didn't watch it, but I did see the headline that she apparently.
Oh, it's incredible! You have to watch it. It's like
she's just bypassing all the laws to make hella cash.
She looks so.
The reason that this idea to put a ban on stock trading for members of Congress is even a thing is because of Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she is rightfully criticized because she makes, I think, $174,000 a year, yet she has a net worth of approximately $413 million. In 2024, Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio, this was a fascinating statistic to me, grew 70% in 1 year in
Nancy Pelosi's career just got a brutal goodbye, thanks to Joe Rogan and Karoline Leavitt. This wasn't your usual farewell lit, was a full-blown roast. They tore through years of double standards, frozen grins, and speech tricks loaded with stock deals. Pelosi gets exposed as the queen of chaos, wrapped in luxury and staged media moments. If you expected a classy exit, forget it. This wasn't a curtain call, it was a mic drop. The roast doesn't just reveal her, it burns the whole narrative to ashes. Strap in, because this breakdown is as savage as it is funny.
Did you see the Nancy Pelosi thing? The new one?
She was being interviewed and then was like, I didn't want to talk about that.
Anderson Cooper. Put that on. Anderson Cooper, he sneaks it in. She's like, I came in here to talk about the anniversary of Medicaid. Like, she cares about Medicaid. She's worth an estimated $400 million now.
How? What's the salary? 70,000 a year?
170 grand a year, something like that. 200 grand a year.
People on this, he doesn't want to see people like Nancy Pelosi enriching themselves off of public service and ripping off their constituents in the process. As for the mechanics of the legislation and how it will move forward, the White House continues to be in discussion.
Joe Rogan and Karoline Leavitt didn't just roast Nancy Pelosi, they lit her whole legacy on fire. This wasn't some gentle burn over s'mores. It was a flamethrower aimed straight at decades of fake smiles, old-school politics, and a public image wrapped in Botox and empty promises. What they delivered wasn't criticism, was a demolition.
The amount of stock trading that's done by members of Congress, the amount of fucking money that they make when they know decisions that are going to be signed and passed. They know laws that are going to be put into place. They know. Like, there was one recently that we're talking about Nancy Pelosi and the amount of money she invested in Tesla right before Biden signed this EV bill, electric vehicle bill. It's like 1.2 million.
Pelosi clutched her gavel like it was the last thing keeping her from fading into the background. And honestly, it didn't help. Joe Rogan came in like a fighter ready for a championship round. His first jab, her fancy wine cellar. Let's get real. During the pandemic, while everyday Americans fought for toilet paper, Pelosi was bragging about her $13 ice cream stash. She gave mansion tours on TV while family-run businesses were collapsing. That's what she called leadership. Pelosi's version of public service. Let them eat gelato, as long as it's gourmet and Camaretti.
Here, let's watch this because it's so funny.
Let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
Yeah, but I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the stop the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted.
Karoline Leavitt didn't pull any punches. She looked at Pelosi's legacy and saw nothing but a dusty archive of mixed messages. One moment, Pelosi's screaming about threats to democracy, and the next she's tearing up speeches like a wild kid in a paper shredder. It's not about saving democracy. It's about saving her office perks and endless paid gigs. If Pelosi ever stood for anything real, those values probably ran off years ago, smothered by lobbyists, insider tips, and designer distractions.
If you talk with the president's position on the stock trading ban bill before Congress, you obviously had pretty loaded comments about Senator Hawley. There's some reporting that they've since spoken. What is his position on the current status of that?
The president has spoken to Senator Hawley, who called him, and the president took that call. As the president said in the Roosevelt Room yesterday, conceptually, he of course supports the idea of ensuring that members of Congress and United States senators who are here for public service cannot.
Joe tore into the ridiculous theater of Pelosi's so-called leadership. He pointed out how she always seemed to lead from the back, stumbling over her own party's mess, while blaming the other side just for being there. Her political game felt more like a stage show, a little dramatic flair, a lot of orange man bad, and a complete blind spot to the fact she's been in power since dinosaurs practically roamed Capitol Hill.
Stocks.
Well, insider trading is against the law.
Yeah.
How is that not insider trading?
Right.
If you know that someone's going to sign a bill and that bill is going to be a massive boost to the electrical vehicle industry, just as an example, and you know that bill's going to be signed, so right before that bill's signed, you buy a fuckload of stock in electrical vehicles. And then the next day, or whenever it was, that bill gets passed, and then that stock goes up, and you make a shit ton of money? How is it?
And those speeches, every time Pelosi talks, it's like watching a glitchy robot from a forgotten theme park. Her hands flap like she's trying to wave down a plane, and her words come out with a mix of smugness and scrambled wiring. Even after all this time, she still acts surprised when people doubt her decisions. Like she wasn't the one who pushed a stimulus bill stuffed with more extras than a Texas BBQ pit.
And her portfolio outperformed every single large hedge fund in that same year, and even more than double the returns of Warren Buffett's Berkshire. Years later, Nancy Pelosi can thank President Trump today for the 104% retaliatory tariff that will be going into effect on China. In 2007, Chuck Schumer spoke of our nation's crippling trade deficit, saying these are the kinds of records the American people don't want us to be breaking. The administration needs to move beyond words, take action now to reverse a trend that threatens our prospects for.
Joe torched Pelosi's polished image until there was nothing left but smoke. The staged outfits, the picture-perfect press briefings, the scripted sound bites, all of it fell apart under the spotlight. Her time in power wasn't about real solutions, it was about controlling the camera and the conversation. She spent more energy blocking rising Democrats than backing real change, unless, of course, it involved offering public prayers while treating impeachment like it was on sale for the holidays. And Joe didn't let the stock scandals slide either. He dragged her so-called lucky trades that beat the market like she had Wall Street wired into a crystal ball. If regular Americans had her kind of success, we'd all be sipping cocktails on yachts. But when asked about her miracle investments, Pelosi turned into a human deflection machine, dodging accountability like she was in the finals of a dodgeball game. Karoline jumped in too, shredding the saintly spin on Pelosi's career. Her legacy, staged photo ops, and massive bills no one reads. Every move feels aimed at keeping her spotlight, not driving change. She talks about the Constitution like she signed it, but treats it like just another stage prop.
Transparent, and it's right in front of your face. Like the Nancy Pelosi situation. She's never made more than $175,000 a year. She's worth $100 and something million. Did you ever see the one where they confronted her about being able to insider trade? You never saw that?
No.
It's wild.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information you received from him?
No, absolutely not.
Just pushes the mic away.
And the double standards. They're built into her entire political brand. She slammed Trump for dividing America, but Pelosi practically wrote the playbook on division, all while draped in designer scarves. Every speech she gave just dug the partisan hole deeper. Her words weren't about unity, they were power grabs wrapped in loud outrage, crafted to fuel cable news segments and stir up Twitter mobs. Joe didn't hold back. He called out Pelosi's lifelong obsession with spotlight politics, where nothing gets done unless there's a camera rolling. When cities were on fire, she threw on a kente cloth and turned a serious moment into a weird PR stunt. That wasn't justice, it was a costume change. Everything she does screams image management. She doesn't pass the torch, she clutches it like Gollum, guarding a retirement check. Karoline came in swinging too, ending with a brutal truth bomb about Pelosi's so-called legacy. For all her talk about moving forward, the only things she's advanced are her Botox calendar and her bottom line. Pelosi's mastered the fake empathy act, delivering dramatic speeches fit for daytime TV while coasting through Congress like she's running on cruise control.
Watching the panic in her face, realizing that Trump is now president, and they're talking about literally going after her for insider trading, and the undeniable evidence that they have had better results on the stock market than literally anyone ever.
Yeah.
And they have access to information about laws that are going to be passed.
Yeah.
If that's not insider trading.
Joe closed it out by asking the real question. How can someone spend 50 years in office and still leave everything a mess? The answer because fixing things was never the goal. Pelosi's career was always about Pelosi holding on to power, shaping the narrative, and acting like the nation should applaud her for decades of political chaos. And yes, she tried to make her exit look like a smooth handoff. But no one's buying it. It wasn't a peaceful transition, it was a quiet escape from the mess she helped create but never cleaned up. She preached morals while playing games with the rules. She talked about transparency but kept the cameras far from her backroom deals. If contradictions paid a salary, Pelosi would have been CEO for life. Joe, always sharp at the finish, nailed it. Pelosi is like a legacy brand that keeps getting repackaged with shiny slogans but never delivers anything new. She's the Windows Vista of politics buggy, outdated and always due for a reboot.
Then Biden, like, chill out. Go on a vacation.
The things he says are so inappropriate for a president of the United States. The comments he makes about women.
Also, why are you still doing it? You're older than Biden.
You're asking me about the appropriateness of the actions of this president? So completely inappropriate in so many ways. It's almost a given.
Not even about the money, it's about access, the power.
He comes in with doggy-doo on his shoes, and everybody who works with him has that on their shoes too.
The people who carry your bags.
And now, as Pelosi fades out with her carefully staged goodbye tour, Americans are left staring at the mess she's leaving behind: failed policies, speeches that aged worse than sour milk, and a resume packed with titles but empty on results. Honestly, her greatest gift to the country might be finally stepping aside. In that quiet space she left, Joe and Karoline didn't fill it with soft praise, they brought the heat. They peeled back decades of dysfunction dressed in luxury labels and fake outrage. And no matter how many glossy magazine spreads she smiled through or how often she threw shade at Trump, none of it changed the truth. Pelosi was a relic dressed up as a revolutionary. And with that, the roast reached its final blow. She wasn't just called out, she was politically erased. Joe and Karoline didn't just criticize her legacy, they burned it down. What's left? Just the sound of forced claps and the faint smell of overpriced suits going up in smoke.
June of 1996, Nancy Pelosi spoke on the House floor. She urged her colleagues at the time to fight against the status quo trade policies that had contributed to America's trade deficit with China. In fact, Nancy Pelosi said, "How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit? How many jobs have to be lost for the American workers? How much dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, 'I will not endorse the status quo'?" Those are the words of Nancy Pelosi in 1990.
Pelosi's exit didn't bring peace, it brought a storm of unanswered questions. And Joe Rogan wasn't done digging through the wreckage. What he uncovered wasn't a legacy of leadership, but a pile of neatly packaged failures still smoldering under the spotlight. For years, Pelosi tied chaos up with ceremonial bows, making it look like control, when really, she was just hogging the stage. Joe zeroed in on her favorite move, pretending to stand on moral high ground while choosing whatever was most convenient politically. Her values, like her press events, were polished on the outside but empty at the core. Karoline finished the job, tearing apart the myth that Pelosi couldn't be replaced. The truth: she made herself essential by sidelining rising voices and guarding power like it was part of her pension plan. She didn't clear the path, she built a toll booth on it. The next wave of leaders didn't follow her, they had to squeeze around her, dodging the photo ops and the fake applause she used to block the way forward.
Hold on. Pelosi's husband invested in Tesla, but not as viral post claims. Okay, so it's bullshit. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi purchased $1.25 million in stock from the electric vehicle company Tesla a day later.
Joe wasn't letting the insider trading saga slide. He called out the sheer absurdity of a sitting Speaker of the House consistently beating Wall Street's sharpest mindseer after year while smiling tighter than one of her NDAs, while regular Americans were just hoping gas prices would ease up. Pelosi was out there playing the stock market like Vegas with picks that magically lined up with future legislation. And when pressed about it, her response was straight out of a dark comedy, part denial, part dodge, and a whole lot of "how dare you even ask." Karoline didn't miss her chance either. She called out the over-the-top show Pelosi put on during her exit like royalty, giving up the throne instead of a politician finally stepping aside. Joe closed it like a pro fighter, landing that last knockout. Pelosi wasn't just a symbol of Washington gridlocks, she designed the maze. She sold herself as the last defense against chaos, but her reign oversaw one of the most broken, divided chapters in modern politics. Under her lead, bipartisanship died, trust vanished, and outrage became Congress's new native tongue.
Because this is a free market and people, we're a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
She's telling why her husband should be able to invest in stuff that she knows about.
Have you ever seen a person look more nervous?
Yeah.
It was the long sip, the gulp afterwards.
The only thing Pelosi ever truly united was her party's talent for blaming every problem on Donald Trump, who ironically is now president again. That alone says it all. Karoline twisted the knife one last time, reminding everyone that despite all her speeches about protecting democracy, Pelosi never really trusted it. She didn't trust Americans to make their own choices. She didn't trust open debate, real reform, or transparency, unless she could stage manage the optics. What she was truly guarding all these years wasn't democracy. It was her position. Her reign wasn't about progress, it was about preserving a brand, a legacy, and a carefully controlled image. And now, that image stands exposed. Not as the product of bold leadership, but as a monument to staying relevant. Her career, high heels, high drama, and even higher stock returns. Pelosi leaves behind a broken Congress, a more skeptical public, and a legacy puffed up far beyond what it earned. Joe and Karoline didn't just end the roast, they closed the chapter. No more claps,